Hey,
Hey.
this is Sonia with Suave and Sassy Seniors. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for allowing me to be able to bring the importance of aging.
Mm.
Many people feel that once you get 60, you're invisible or forgotten. But this guest I have today, Coach Roz Clark, she is unforgettable and she's doggone not invisible. You can't miss her. She's living her best life. She's happy in the skin she's in. She's not saying the 61 with the new 30 because it's not. We love the space we're in.
Mhm.
So, Coach Clark, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Sonia. I think that your message is really important. I'm excited to be here. It's so funny. This is like the first thing that I've done as a senior. So I'm like, oh, okay, senior, that's what I am. Okay, I'm there. So I'm a transformational strategies coach. I came to that via the arts. I have performed and run an opera company as a classical soprano. So yeah, so I'm definitely out of the norm. I don't even, it's like what box. So yeah, I've coached artists. I have artists who have gone on to star on Broadway, to tour internationally. I did a regional thing because I actually have a son with special needs. So my career track changed. I was on track to have an international career, turned 21 in Paris. And then womp womp, yeah, so came back to the States, kept studying, got married, had two children. My second child had his first seizure at 8 months old. And so it changed my whole trajectory. But you get to choose how you respond to life.
Well, now that you said that, you said you have a son with special needs. So, is he home with you?
Yeah, so he is home with me, and obviously I'm in California, and so the COVID numbers are just insane right now. His adult day program has closed down, and so he is sheltering in place, full time in my home. So I tell everybody I'm running an online business and camp mommy at the same time. So yeah, you just you make it work. You do what you need to do.
And Coach Rob, how old is your son?
He is 27.
And see, here's the thing. We all know you never stop being a mother.
Right.
So, but this is the question I want to ask you. You have a son that's special needs. You're home, you're running a business. So many people, when you're 61, they
Mhm.
think when they're 60, their life is over. But how are you on here with pink hair, living your best life? I mean, take us through that journey because when I grow up, I want to be like you.
Yeah, I think part of it is because, and this is what I will say just out of the gate, I love who I am and how I show up in the world. I
How you show
really,
up.
how I show up in the world. I love who I am and how I show up in the world. And so that is the foundation of how I live my life, how I coach, how I come to the stage as a performer. All of those things I've always been really comfortable. I mean, yeah, if you're going around with pink hair, you're kind of bigger than life. So, but I'm really comfortable in it. I'm comfortable being 61. I'm comfortable being the mom of a special needs child. I also have a daughter who's an amazing artist in her own right. And so, like, I just live my life, and I've always been a dreamer. As a matter of fact, a lot of my clients call me the dream queen because my foundation is that our dreams are our roadmap to our destiny. And so you keep dreaming and you keep living and you keep growing and you keep becoming the best and highest version of who you are.
So something you said, Coach Ross, that really resonated with me. You said you love how you show up every day. So can you unpack it a little bit? What do you mean?
Yeah,
I heard at 60 years old and they're feeling like, look, I'm 60, I'm a senior citizen. I mean, my kids are grown. What do you think? Tell me what you mean when you show up.
so I think it happens across our whole life, even for the millennials who are like, oh my God, I'm so panicked, I'm so overwhelmed, blah, 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 blah. It's like, sweetie, just take a breath and breathe and decide who you are. We get to decide who we are. Our situations don't dictate it. Nothing dictates how you show up in the world. So, with my son, like I said, I was on a track to have an international career, and I could have been victimized by it. I could have chosen to roll up in a ball and cry or whatever. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't like I didn't cry. And, at the time, my prayer was like, oh, God, fix him. Oh, God, fix him. Oh, God, please fix him. And what really happened was God fixed me.
Woo! Wait a minute, Sheila. What do you mean God fixed you? You got to unpack that a little bit for me.
So I could have been hung up on, I didn't get what I wanted. My son is not healed. And I still believe to this day, because I am a woman of faith, I believe the healing is still in the realm of possibility. As long as we're here, healing, growth, deliverance, whatever it is that you're looking for is within the realm of possibility. But I can't let my situation dictate who I become. So like I said, I chose to become an amazing advocate for people with special needs, an advocate for my son, an advocate for my family, an advocate for my daughter, because a big part for me was, my daughter's the eldest. She was my first, then my son, that I didn't want her to get lost in my son's diagnosis.
Whoa.
And that's a choice. And I'm not saying I did it perfectly, but I'm saying that I did it with intention. I was intentional about how I show up in the world. And to your point about the question, that's why when you get to the point that you can say, I like me a lot, and not qualify it, because, we as women, we tend to be like, well, I'm not being vain. I really want you to hear. No, I don't have to qualify it. I love who I am and how I show up in the world. And everybody who works with me, I want that to be end game for them. I want them to say, I am talented, I am strong, I am smart, I am pretty, like all of that. I
am happy.
So all of that, I want us to not apologize for our greatness. And like I said, that goes back to me saying that our dreams are our roadmap to our destiny. So I grew up in a working class, blue collar neighborhood in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I wanted to be a star. I wanted to be on stage, like from the time I was a little girl. And most people are like, oh, girl, who does that? And I'm like, I do. And so even though I didn't have the career that I thought I was going to have, what I was actually able to do is help other people to live out their dream. And I could do that with joy and vibrancy and purpose, and be really super happy and proud of what I helped them create and put out into the world.
Well, let me ask you this, Coach Rob, and I'm going to be real.
Okay.
You didn't get like this overnight. Did you?
Yes and no, because I am so consistently who I am. Like if you ask people like that I grew up with, it's like, oh my gosh, she was always dreaming and she was always trying to do something. And, like, hey kids, let's have a show. So I was always that.
Well, you're always unapologetic though, because as women, we're always trying to apologize for who we are or the space we're in. We're always, as I'm 51, I would never dream of having pink hair at 61. I want pink hair right now, and I wouldn't dream of having it now. So, but I wish I would. So how did you get here? Really? Because there's people 60 and they're thinking, I'm retired, I'm gonna stay home.
So what I'll say is the short answer is yes, I could not have become who I was or who I am without being unapologetic for who I was. So yeah, and again, it goes back to the choices that we make. So my story could have been, because there were people like, girl, who you think you are, all that. And so that could have been my story, like, oh my God, I was bullied and nobody liked me and but that wasn't. I was like, look, if you don't get it, I'm not for you.
Boo-boo.
you know, and so I've always been that. And I'm a really kind of weird mixture because, like I said, you know, I was a classical soprano, so I'm this girly girl singer, but I also played basketball and I was a power forward.
Really? Are you
Yes, no, I'm 5'9", so I'm relatively tall, and you know,
that's
I'm
a
not
little height
tiny.
for a woman.
Yeah, and I'm not a tiny woman. You know what I mean? I got some heft to me. And so what I tell everybody all the time is I'm the only soprano that you'll meet who can hit a high C and an outside jumper. So
I love it. Oh, I love Coach Ross. I love the way you embrace yourself. I
thank you.
love the way, because so many women, we apologize for who we are. You know, we apologize for the space we're in.
Yeah,
And so I love that you said you're unapologetic. So with the pink hair, are you married?
not anymore. So no, I'm not. And I am so grateful that I'm no longer married. And again, making choices. I was married for 30 years.
Wait a minute. We got a sea lie right here. I've, I've ran into women saying, hey, I've been married for 20 years. I can't waste those years. What is your take on
You
it?
know, I think you got to show up as who you are again, you know, and like I did everything that I could to make it work. I did all the work to make it work. And then what I really had to say was, okay, girl, and especially now I'm coaching people at this time, right? I'm in a toxic and dysfunctional marriage, and I'm coaching people. And I'm coaching people to live their best life. And I'm like, physician, heal thyself.
That part.
Right, you know, and so I had to say, okay, after a certain point, he's been very clear. And like, I wrote an amazing article, and maybe, you know, you might want to share it at some point. It's on Thrive Global, and the name of the article is Choosing Divorce Meant Finally Choosing Me. And as I tell my story, I'm very mindful not to tell his. Because,
Oh.
yeah, because that's
I feel like that and just let it go. So just give us like 2 sentences on what you mean by you not telling his story.
because he gets to choose who he wants to be. And he made a choice of who he wanted to be, despite me saying, this is not working, this is not healthy, I'm not happy, EIEIO. And like Maya says, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
You better believe that, because they're not gonna. So how old were you when you divorced him?
I was 59.
Oh wow, that's
Like I'm newly divorced, like two years ago. I made the decision, this is not right for me.
wow.
And my thing, and like back to not telling his story but telling mine, what I said is, you get to be who you want to be, but I get to choose who I want to be with.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, and who you are is not who I want to be with.
So let me ask you this: you didn't think about, because I hear women saying, "Oh, I've been married 30 years. I'm 59 years old. I don't want to be by myself." You didn't think about possibly being by yourself in your later years?
Well, sometimes people teach you how to be by yourself even when you're with someone.
Whoa! You need to write a whole book about that.
So yeah, you know, and again, it comes back to I'm so comfortable in my own skin.
I
So,
love
you know, I love who I am. I love how I show up in the world. And because I'm still a dreamer, and that was the other thing, like I helped him make his dream come true. I helped him become everything that he wanted to be. And no tea, no shade. I'm happy that he did it. I'm happy that he is who he thinks he is and wants to be. But I got to finally make the choice of saying, okay, you can't blame somebody else for being who they are if you stay.
Have you wrote a book about this?
I haven't yet. Like I said, I wrote an article, and there's probably more to say, but that's what it comes down to. And like, you know, and you do all the things, oh, I got to live by my vows, I got to take care of my family, I got to EIEIO. And but after you do all of that, like, who do you show up in the world as? Like, are you living out the best and highest version of who you are? And so to your point about women who are saying, well, it's over at 60, like I launched a brand new business you know, and like in what I will share, you know, the separating and parting was not pretty. I was homeless for 3 months.
Wow.
And you know, and like, and that's all relative because I had friends, you know, I stayed with friends, I stayed with family, but I had to find and create a home for my son, you know, with special needs and all of that. So even when my friends had given up, I was like, no, my perfect house is coming, my perfect situation is coming. And so I went in a year's time from being, you know, left under like, okay, I got to get up out of here, and homeless for 3 months. And within a year's time, like I told you, I turned 21 in Paris. I turned 60 in Paris too.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
So what I called it was I went back because I hadn't been to Paris, back to your period since I was 21. And I went back to celebrate my birth and my rebirth. And that was my gift to myself. So I spent 5 days in Paris and 5 days on the French Riviera. And I left on a plane by myself and was good.
Well, let me. I know women who won't travel anywhere by themselves. So you did it by yourself.
Yep. Absolutely. And then I had a really dear friend, and because when I told her what I was doing, she was so funny. She said, so are you going to Paris or are we going to Paris? And I was like, girl, you can come if you want to, but if you don't, hey, you know. And so her schedule didn't allow for her to come over until a couple of days. So she met me in Paris. We spent a day in Paris and took the train down to the French Riviera. And so, you know, I had 5 days by myself and 5 days to hang out with a friend, but I meant that I was going no matter who went or who didn't.
That is so amazing. Coach Rob, you are epic. I mean, when I get 61, I promise I want to be like you. You are epic and you look amazing. So let me ask you something. If there's a woman that's in her 60s that's transitioning, going into 60 that has some things going on, some insecurities, some issues, do you coach those type of people?
I do. I mean, I coach all ages and all generations. And what I will say is, I think that, like you're saying, like, well, when I'm 61, I want to be like you. Then you need to be like me right now, because you know, we don't wake up one day and change. We work. So if you look at, you know, people who are whatever, angry, you know, disagreeable, whatever, they didn't get like that because they got 60. They got like that because they were mean when they were 40, and they were, you know, depressed when they were 50. And so all of that. And so, so the short answer is yes, I coach across ages and genders. And what I would say is, like one of my introductory products is called the Mindset. It's a 21-day mindset reset program and workbook, because it all begins in your mind. It all begins with a thought.
The renewing of the mind.
Yes. You know, so you gotta take control of your thoughts, and then your words, and then your actions. So yes, you know, what I would say to anybody, if stop shortchanging yourself, watch your language, watch what you say about yourself, because who you say you are, you become. And so if you say I'm healed, or if you say I'm whole, or if you say I'm strong, then you are.
Let me ask you this. So many women that are of faith feel that they don't need coaching. Now, that's not me, because I have a coach. I believe in coaching, life coach, business coach, ever. So what would you say to someone that's maybe 65 or 70 saying, listen, I'm a woman of God. I don't need a coach. I don't need this. What would you say?
Woo, we don't have enough time for that answer. So what I will say is this. You have to, again, make some choices. You know, so when you buy into a system and trust. I grew up in the church, love the church, been in ministry, EIEIO, you know, done it all.
Got a t-shirt.
Yeah, and exactly. Wrote the book too, because I actually do have a book called Conquering Fear with Faith, 30 days of meditation and affirmation. Wow. You have to decide who you are. And if you do and believe and trust God, if you're a woman of God, a woman of faith, and that says, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. If you say that, let this mind also be in you that was in Christ Jesus. if you say that he thought it not robbery to be equal with God. See, so if you say all of those things and then say, I don't need a coach, or I can't move out of this box, or I can't move out of the role that I'm supposed to be playing, then you're limiting what your gifting is.
I love it.
The church I grew up in, we used to say you're living beneath your throne rights.
Ooh, don't live beneath your throne rights.
Live beneath your throne rights. So all of this, hey, queen, and hey, queen, you know what? You're not a queen. You're not, because the emperor has no clothes. So if you're beat down, if you're broke down, you're not a queen. If you're not living the best and the highest of who you're meant to be, you're not a queen. You want to be a queen, and you can be a queen, but be very clear, you're Cinderella right now.
Whoa. I love it. Coach Roz, you are amazing.
Thank you.
You are a wealth of encouragement. So we always ask everyone on our show to give us a nugget to carry us through. What will you leave with us?
I think the best thing that I could say is really take the moment and the time to get connected again with your dreams. There's something that's been in us all our lives that's crying out to be lived. And if you really think about it, because when we were kids, it was like, I'm going to be blah, 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 and then you stuff it down and you make yourself small. And like you said, you apologize. But if you get reconnected with your dream and then make the commitment to show up fully and authentically as yourself, fully and authentically as yourself. And that way you can show up with pink hair, with purple hair, with blonde hair, with whatever color you want to, and like no tea, no shade, mine come off and on. I change them out, so I'm comfortable with that. And it may not be how you look. It may become how you lead, so don't be small. Show up fully and authentically as yourself. And if you trust that inner voice that's crying out to be lived, because, the Bible says that God gave us the desires of our hearts. Not that he gave us what we wanted. He gave us what we desire because we're supposed to live it out.
That is amazing. Coach Roz,
yes,
thank you so much for being a part of our show and for being such a sassy singer. Thank you for sharing so many valuable nuggets. We asked for one at the end, but the whole conversation has been valuable. We're going to share your information if you're interested in reaching out to Coach Roz. She's amazing. Her information will be in the link below. Click the link below. Click the link below.
Thank you.
You'll be able to contact her. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being part of Suave and Sassy Seniors and Seniors. And we have to remember, our seniors are not invisible. They're a valuable part of our living, of our country, and of our generation.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.